42 CFR Part 2 puts stricter privacy rules on SUD treatment records than HIPAA. And a broad treatment consent does not authorize disclosing the notes Part 2 protects most. SUD treatment records carry stricter confidentiality protections than general medical records, and that gap is where centers get caught. 42 CFR Part 2 versus HIPAA, what the deeper dive means for how your SUD documentation is consented, stored, and disclosed. We cover the two-tier note distinction, the consent rules, what you can disclose, and how your records should be structured. The deeper dive starts with one distinction. Progress notes and SUD counseling notes are not protected the same way. Progress notes are the required documentation of each session and become part of the official clinical record. SUD counseling notes are the counselor's private analysis, kept separate from the record. Under revised Part 2, they get special protections similar to HIPAA's psychotherapy notes. Treat the two tiers the same, and you risk an improper disclosure, because SUD counseling notes cannot be released on a broad treatment consent. Progress notes are accessible for treatment, payment, and operations under standard consent. Counseling notes require specific, separate consent from the client. Insurance companies and courts can request progress notes, but they cannot compel disclosure of SUD counseling notes. Behave Health is designed to support 42 CFR Part 2 consent management directly, keeping counseling notes separate from progress notes so the wrong record isn't released on the wrong consent. The platform is designed to separate SUD counseling notes from progress notes so the protected tier stays accessible only to the treating clinician. Consent management is designed to support disclosing only what each consent authorizes before a record leaves your center. When you do disclose SUD records, 4 rules from the deeper dive decide whether the release is compliant. Miss any one, and a routine release becomes an improper disclosure. Let us walk through all 4. Rule 1. Obtain proper consent before disclosing any SUD treatment information. Proper consent is required before disclosing SUD treatment information, even to other healthcare providers. Never disclose that someone is or has been in SUD treatment without proper consent. Rule 2. Include the consent scope with any disclosure of SUD records. Either attach a copy of the consent or clearly explain its scope with the records you release. Spelling out scope is how the receiving party knows what the disclosure does and does not authorize. Rule 3. Minimize the information disclosed. Share only what is necessary for the stated purpose of the disclosure, not the whole record by default. Rule 4. Maintain SUD counseling notes separately if you keep them. If you keep counseling notes, store them separately and ensure they are accessible only to the treating clinician. The deeper dive translates these rules into the Part 2 features your documentation system should support. Proper consent management for SUD records, so each disclosure ties back to an authorizing consent. Separation of SUD counseling notes from progress notes, keeping the 2 privacy tiers structurally distinct. Disclosure tracking with consent attachment, so every release carries the consent that authorized it. Role-based access controls, so only the right people reach the protected counseling notes. The practical takeaway: the consent in hand decides which notes can leave your center and how much of them. Before any release, match the consent you hold to the note tier being requested. Progress notes under standard consent, counseling notes only under specific consent. Behave Health connects SUD documentation to consent, so the Part 2 rules are built into how records are kept and released. Consent management is designed to support disclosing SUD records only within the scope each consent authorizes. The platform is designed to keep SUD counseling notes separate from progress notes, with role-based access on the protected tier. Disclosure tracking is designed to attach the authorizing consent to each release for an auditable record. Stop releasing protected SUD notes on the wrong consent. Book a 20-minute demo of Part 2 consent management at behavehealth.com. See consent management, note separation, and disclosure tracking built for SUD documentation at behavehealth.com.